So I want to begin the message today just by asking this question. If you were to even to go on and Google, do you have fractured relationships in your life? If you were just wondering, what does it say on the internet about fractured relationships? And say you pulled up a page that was like WebMD, and it just listed the symptoms. Some of you have done this before with medical things. Oh, come on. Seriously? Okay. And so symptoms of fractured relationships. Do you experience one or more of these symptoms? Do you feel overscheduled, overinformed, and overwhelmed? Your relationships tend to be a mile wide and a few inches deep. One of your primary sources of affirmation is social media. One of the symptoms is you may be smiling on the outside, but deep inside you feel shame and guilt. You feel unseen and unnoticed by other people in terms of who you really are. You have a short fuse and/or you're prone to bouts of depression. You struggle with addiction as a way to numb the pain and emptiness. You have a hard time really feeling what other people feel, being truly with them. Empathy is it's a lost art. It's something that you hear about, but you just can't really connect with. If you have one or more of those symptoms, it may be because of fractured relationships and being broken. But onto this scene comes Jesus, who actually is the great physician. And he has a great prescription. He says, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I'll give you rest." He says, "Blessed are those who feel desperate and insignificant, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to them." Jesus says, "I came to set free those who are bruised and crushed by tragedy." He says, "Follow me and I'll teach you a new way of living, how to heal fractures instead of making them worse." I came so that you could have life, indeed, so that you could live life to the fullest. Those are all things Jesus says. So the prescription is Jesus and his words and his life, the healer, no matter what the symptoms are that you have. We're studying this amazing message of Jesus called the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5-7. And every week I'm encouraging you to read ahead and in this message of Jesus. It's the longest recorded message that we have of Jesus. And remember, whenever we look at a message that Jesus taught in the Bible, these are similar things that Jesus taught all over the place as he was traveling around Palestine. He was speaking similar messages. That's why you have different little alterations in the account or something that was said in one of the gospel accounts as compared to another one, is because Jesus was speaking these same messages all the time. And in Matthew 5-7, we're looking specifically at this through the window, if you will, looking into this room in terms of how Jesus calls us to heal relationships and to have whole relationships. Remember, he calls us to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbors as ourselves. Last week we talked about being a peacemaker and what that means. And today we're going to talk about the fracture of anger and offense. How many of you have experienced, you don't have to raise your hand, but how many of you have experienced being fractured in relationships because of anger and offense? And even when you think about a certain person, that's your reference point. It's that person you're thinking of right now. Anger and offense, fracture that comes, fractured relationships. And we're going to watch a clip from the Lumo Project. This is one of our favorites that portrays the life of Jesus. And this is the portrayal of him, of this actual story, Matthew 5:21-26. And I love the way they portrayed this. I don't know if this is exactly what Jesus did, probably not exactly, but it's just a beautiful picture. And I want you to pay attention to this and think of this as though you were there. You're one of the characters that is in this story, and you're watching Jesus talk about anger. You're watching Jesus talk about and redefine what God really thinks about relationships and how to mend fractures when it comes to anger and offense. And there's this beautiful picture that's painted. And then we're going to come back to this and talk about it more. But I really want to encourage you to prayerfully put yourself in the story and pay attention to what Jesus does in speaking and then in personally engaging in this conflict between two young boys. Let's go ahead and watch.
Kingdom of heaven. You have heard that it was said to the people long ago, "You shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment." But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, "Raka," is answerable to the court. And anyone who says, "You fool," will be in danger of the fire of hell. Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First, go and be reconciled to them, then come and offer your gift. Settle matters quickly with your adversary who is taking you to court. Do it while you are still together on the way, or your adversary may hand you over to the judge, and the judge may hand you over to the officer, and you may be thrown into prison. Truly, I tell you, you will not get out until you have paid the last penny.